Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is the ABCs of communicating. How's everyone doing this morning? We are going to be talking about judgment this morning. So how often do we feel entitled to place judgment or to use judgment all the time? We use judgment all the time in our communication. This is basically where we feel authorized to make a decision or form an opinion about a particular matter. And so that is basically the definition of judgment. We live in a society where judgment is very common, right? A lot of people make livings off of being judgmental, right? They do commentaries on different shows or different events that happen where they place judgment on, give their opinions and give their make decisions on whatever it is that they're commenting on. So we, put comments down in our comment sections on social media and saying how we feel about what the person is thinking. So judgment is a very common act that we do each and every day. But judgment also affects how we communicate. And we have to think about how we use judgment when we're in communicating so that it does not affect our relationships in a negative way. Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you. Welcome in. Good morning, Kay Renee. How are you doing? Happy Wednesday. It's hump day. Good morning to you. Welcome in. This morning, we're talking about judgment and how judgment affects how we communicate in our relationships. So we use judgment all the time. Judgment is, a part of our everyday lives, and it's not something that necessarily should be taken away. It's something that we need to learn how to use wisely, right? So we make judgment every day in communicating and deciding whether or not we're even going to approach someone or not, right? Are we going to approach them or are we not? Good morning, the Miss Yo-Yo Show. How are you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome in. We're talking about judgment this morning. How are you all doing this morning? I'll wait just another minute and see if anyone else pops in. How are you all doing this morning? I am well. I'm doing good and happy to be here on a Wednesday. Happy to be here. All right. So like I said, you know what? I'm going to pull up my phone here real quick so I can catch things live. Hold on. Just 1 second. Get on my channel. There we go. Okay. Yeah, the comments on my StreamYard are always so behind. So good morning, Harrison. How you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Hope all is well with you. I did not know that you had your master's in marriage and family counseling and therapy or something like that, Harrison. I saw you on a Candle V where you were speaking about it. I was watching one of her episodes and I saw you on there. That's awesome. I didn't know that. I remember you told me you had 2 master's degrees, but I didn't know that that was what they were in. So that's awesome and amazing. Fantastic. I may have to get with you and yeah, that's phenomenal. Marriage and family counseling. That's awesome. I may have to get with you and see if you might be interested in, doing a collaboration with me possibly. That's phenomenal. What is your other one in? Just curious. Oh, awesome. Fantastic. That sounds great. Yeah. Thank you so much. I'll have to, are you on Instagram? Education. Two perfect things. Okay. Fantastic. All right. So this morning we are talking about judgment and how we use our judgment in communicating in our relationships, and how judgment affects how we communicate. So, like I said, we use judgment every day in good ways. Like we decide whether or not how we're going to approach someone, whether or not we should approach anyone. Good morning, Cullen. How you doing? Good to see you. Welcome in. Oh, good morning, Levy Boyd. How are you? Welcome in this morning. I don't know if I've seen you this early before in the morning, so welcome in. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the compliment. We use judgment in, oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I'll hit you up on IG. Thank you. I just got my IG, so I'm so, so excited. I have a new platform of social media now, so there's not much on it, but I'm going to work to try to put more stuff on there. I'm trying to figure out how to get little snippet videos on there. So I guess there's a limit as to how long the videos can be. So I have to figure out what that is. You doing good? Yes, you do 60 so well. Yes, he just had a birthday turning 60. Bless you, bless you. Praise God for that. Ooh. Yes, that's a big number. That's a big number, and you are doing it well. You are doing it well. Looking good and, moving good. So that is for sure a blessing. Good to go. So like I said, we use judgment all the time, right? Whether or not we're going to approach someone, whether or not someone is safe, and if the conversation seems safe, if it's dangerous, if the conversation feels like it's, getting toxic, or whether or not someone is trustworthy or untrustworthy. We use judgment all the time in our communication. And a lot of times we make good decisions in communicating, using judgment in our communicating when we are, say, deciding when we're going to talk to someone, right? The timing of a situation. We use good judgment when we want to make positive connections with people, right? Like when we're networking, a lot of times we will use our good judgment in deciding, okay, this sounds like somebody I should, talk to or link up with, or, try to communicate with and see, if we may have some things in common where we can make a connection and different things such as that. Good morning, Destiny awaits me. Jeremiah 29:11. Yes. Let's see. You're at work in the background listening. Fantastic. I appreciate you. I appreciate you turning me on. Thank you so much for being here. So we use good judgment all the time, right? In ways that are helpful to us. We decide whether or not a conversation is appropriate. A lot of times, like we'll change how we communicate, right? We speak authoritatively, maybe to our children or to different coworkers, or we'll have a more professional type, conversation versus when we're, around friends or different things such as that, right? Our language may be more relaxed or casual. And so which is appropriate. Good morning. Thanks. How you doing? Thanks so much. Yes. I got to switch it up every now and then. Yes. I appreciate my girl. She does good work. I love her so much. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. But yet, our communication, our judgment can also cause us to make bad decisions in our communication when it comes to relationships. And so we're going to talk about a couple of those areas where we can use the wrong judgment, and what we can do about changing how we judge people in communication. So one of the first reasons a lot of times that we judge people is often because we judge ourselves, right? Because we feel free to judge ourselves. We think that we're entitled to judge others. So it's just that simple. We give ourselves permission to judge other people when it's not necessarily our right to do so. So we have to be mindful in the fact that should we even be judging a person? If so, are we judging them quietly, privately, or are we judging them out loud, saying things, out loud to them? And because that is where we can tend to get in trouble when we speak judgmentally to someone, really kind of without permission. And people can easily and quickly take offense. Walls immediately will go up, and people will quickly shut down if we are placing judgment on people. So it's something that we have to use wisely and be, very careful about how we use judgment. So like one of the quickest ways that we mess up in our judgment or get in trouble is when our timing is off in our communication. So if we are approaching someone, if we decide that, okay, I need to talk to this person about this situation and I need to talk to them now, like we don't care what's going on. We have to say what's on our mind. We don't care what they may be going through, what they're dealing with. We don't care what it is because we have a pressing issue that we feel entitled to talk about, and it must be talked about at that moment. So we approach the person and we go in, and we say, hey, and we might look at them and see that they may be feeling whatever, but we don't care, right? We don't care. We still need to get our point across. We still have to make our statements. And this is where we can get in trouble, because what happens is when we approach people with the wrong things at the wrong time or the right things at the wrong time, then we have to realize that we may not receive their attention. We may not get the response that we are looking for, and we may not ultimately be as effective as we would like to be in the conversation. So when we're trying to decide whether or not we're going to approach someone about it, we have to think, okay, what are my intentions here? What am I trying to achieve here when I'm trying to decide if I want to, take this conversation to a person? Do I just want to be heard? Do I just want to release what I need to say and get it off my chest and be done with it? We don't care. Whatever it is, we have to be mindful of what kind of results we want out of the conversation when just deciding, whether or not this is a good time to talk to this person. Because what happens is once their barriers are raised and once they're not listening, the worst part of this is them thinking that we don't care about them. Because once they feel that we don't care about them, we don't care about what they're thinking, what they're feeling, then it's over. They shut down and we're not listening. So our words tend to fall on deaf ears. So that's one of the places that we can get real, make the wrong judgment call on when to talk to a person about an issue or matter that we're experiencing. So try to be mindful of the time that we choose to talk to a person. We may be in the midst of our anger or our frustration or our irritation, but if it's not the right time, then we won't be effective. We won't be able to, create an open space for safe communication to happen or effective communication to happen. So try to be mindful, get out of our feelings sometimes and take a step back and say, okay, I'm really pissed right now, or I really need to talk to this person about this situation right now. This is an important matter, but this may not be the best time. So God, help me find the best time, create the window, open the door so that I can know, when I can go in and speak to this person. All right. The second thing that we can get in trouble with judgment is when we're not mindful of our audience. Okay. We can quickly and easily get comfortable in our own skin with ourselves and be talking about things, say, in a professional setting that are inappropriate, right? We can be in front of a boss or in front of a coworker and gossiping and not realizing that, oh, this is my supervisor. I probably shouldn't be saying these things, in front of this supervisor, or having inappropriate conversations, like, anything. Or when we have maybe children around and we're using, explicit words or different things such as that are just inappropriate for the age of the child. So there's all kind of ways that we can say the wrong things, or we could be in front of a religious audience or a conservative audience and be, speaking a bunch of liberal things. Who knows, all sorts of ways that we get in trouble with not paying attention to our audience. So what happens when we are not mindful of our audience is that we lose their respect, because people think, do they know who I am? Do they know where they are? Do they know what setting they're in? And so we lose people's respect when we are not mindful of who it is that we're talking to. So we have to gauge the room when we walk into a space, or think about the person that we're talking to, so that we use the appropriate words. Some people, a lot of times, maybe we don't care. Sometimes people don't care. And if you don't care, that's fine. And if you're okay with potentially losing the respect of a person, then say what you want to say, But if we're trying to be respected, a lot of times if we want to be respected, we have to be willing to give respect to people and speak, appropriate conversations in front of the right audience. So we don't lose ground. If we're working to build trust, if we're working to build trust with someone, not just respect, but also trust, then we have to be willing to give respectful communication, respectful conversation to the appropriate audience, so that they trust us to, trust us in conversation. They trust us to open up and talk with us. But if people sense immediately, like we do it all the time, when someone is coming at us the wrong way or saying things around us that is offensive, they immediately lose our trust, because we think, why do they know what they're saying? Like, why are they saying these things in front of me? And so we take offense. And just like we take offense when people who are not mindful of who we are, they take offense when we're not mindful of who they are. So we have to be careful and think about our audience when we're communicating. When you walk into a space, look around the room, see who's there, pay attention. If you don't know someone, ask who they are, ask a little bit about the person. Say, hey, I haven't met them before. Who's this? Before we start, run off at the mouth a lot of times with things. We have to be mindful of our audience. The other ways that we use bad judgment a lot of times is when we have limited information and we make decisions or assumptions about a situation or a matter. And we do this quite often. We hear one statement, one word from one person. So such and such said this, so and so said this, and we immediately make a judgment call. I can't believe they did that. Did you hear that? Did you see what they did? Did you hear about this situation? And we immediately make judgment call without having full knowledge of the situation, or we make assumptions. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I believe that they did that. I believe that happened. And we may not know the whys. We may not know, the intentions behind any of it. But because we are, because we're ready to make a decision about it, or we want to feel a certain kind of way about people sometimes, we make judgment calls based on limited information. But yet when we make those judgment calls, we run the risk of losing the relationship. We run the risk of being wrong on the issue and missing out on something important, missing out on our ability to be able to, talk or minister to that person because we've made a judgment call about them, or we miss the opportunity for them to pour into our lives because we've made a judgment call about them and we've shut ourselves down to them without giving them opportunity to get to know them or to, explain their side of the story. We decide we're not going to have someone in our life anymore. We're not going to be friends with them. We're not going to work with them anymore. We're not going to, be in relationship with them anymore because something that we don't like. And we made a judgment call without giving them the opportunity to get to know them, to express themselves, ask them about the situation if it requires, some explanation. So we have to be willing to be open to listening and getting full information on a situation before we make judgment, before we take action, especially anytime we're in our feelings. That's not the time a lot of times to make decisions. Try to calm down, try to sleep on it, try to process what it is that we're hearing, and don't be so quick to make decisions when something is affecting us, especially emotionally. Okay. So another time we use judgment is when we're looking for excuses not to do something. When we don't want to have to step in on a situation to help out. When we don't want to um, be held accountable. When we don't want to be blamed. Then and we're looking for reasons not to have someone in our life, not to get involved, not to have to talk to the person, then we make judgment. We use our judgment, right? We decide, oh, I already see this coming. I want no parts of it. I'm gonna go ahead and make this judgment call and look for reasons, look for excuses as to why we don't want this person in our lives. And we can do that easily. We can easily come up with a million reasons why we don't want to. Did you see the way do you see how they dressed? Did you see what she said about this? Did you see, how he did this or went over there and did that? So it doesn't take much a lot of times for us to decide, I don't want this person in my life. I don't want any parts of it. I don't want nothing to do with it. I don't want to get involved. I don't want to help be responsible. So we can quickly and easily, when we're looking for excuses, use our judgment and place judgment on people. So, but here's what the word tells us about judgment, right? In Matthew 7, verses 1 and 2, it talks about judge not that you might not be judged, so that you won't be judged, because the same level of judgment that we use against other will be used back towards us. So that's a big statement. That's a big statement to think on the same level that I judge another person could be judged back towards me. So, and that's something that we have to be mindful of. And in Matthew 7 and 12, it says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If we could get our minds in the space where we decide, you know what, I don't want to treat this person this way because I wouldn't want them to treat me that way. We are so undeserving. We always are quick to look at the faults of others without seeing the faults within ourselves. And so we have to be careful how we judge people, because hello, good morning, the crew family. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're talking about judgment this morning. Yes, we want to do unto others as they do unto us. So if we judge people quickly or without full information, or not being mindful of what's going on in their life, and they did that same thing to us, how would we feel about it, right? How would we feel about being judged? None of us like to be judged. We choose not to do things. We opt out of doing things that we should be doing just because we don't want to be judged. We're afraid of being judged. No one likes to be judged. We won't go certain places. We won't do certain things. We won't, take action upon certain things just because we're afraid that we might be judged, or it could be something that we've been judged on in the past. So we get nervous, we get fearful, and decide that we're not going to be a part of that. Oh, no problem. Thank you. I appreciate you being here listening. So we have to be careful. We have to be mindful. So here's some things that I do to help me when it comes to making judgment calls, right? So, and these are just things that have worked for me that help keep me in a state of give me a reality check when I'm ready to make a judgment call on someone or something or some action. It says, Medea says, we have options. We may opt out when we fear judgment. Absolutely. Yes, we will definitely opt out. We're like, no, I don't want them thinking this about me, or I don't want them saying this about me, or I don't want them having this opinion about me. So I'm not going to involve myself in that. So we opt out of doing things that sometimes maybe we need to do, that we need to get involved in just because we're afraid of the judgment, right? Yet last Monday, we talked about our insecurities and how our insecurities can prevent us from doing the things that we need to do. So, and judgment is the same way. We fear the judgment. So here's one of the things that I do. Number one, I realize myself. I try to keep in mind myself that I am not perfect. I have definitely done things, said things, been in places where I should not have been, or done things that I should not have done and said things that I should not have said. And Lord knows I would not want those individual moments for people to judge my character, judge my persona, my overall, person, as for those moments of, maybe where I was out of character, out of who I am, out of who God created me to be, out of who I'm called to be, for people to base that judgment on me and say, oh, I saw her do this, one time, and it could be literally a moment that they caught me, in the midst of my feelings, caught up in my emotions, and maybe said something or did something that I didn't need to say, or do something that would not have normally done. And so, a lot of times when we catch people doing things, we can't assume that that's just who they are all the time, that's just how they feel, or because they said something that may be how they feel all the time. It could be something that they're experiencing or dealing with at the moment. Let's see. I'm so happy I'm actually a part of this life. So true. Fear stands in the way of us moving forward. It does. It absolutely does. Fear, judgment, fear of judgment, all of that for sure prevents us from doing the things that we're called to do. And we have to stop looking for people to give us permission to be ourselves, to be who we are, to be who God created us to be. If we are looking for permission from people, we may not ever do the things that we are called to do, because people will tell us a million reasons why we shouldn't, a million reasons why we're not qualified. They'll tell us 10 things why we're not worthy, why we're not deserving, why we won't make it. That we don't have what it takes, that we don't have what we need, that we are not enough. And we don't live according to this world. If you are saved, if you're a believer, if you seek God and God is head over your life, then we're called to do the things that he calls us to do. We have to live by his rules, his standards, and do the things that he's telling us to do, and not the things, because we will talk ourselves out of doing everything, right? We will talk ourselves out of getting up in the morning and getting out of bed because the bed is, telling us that, no, you need to stay here. So it's very easy for us to talk ourselves out of doing things because of judgment, because of fear of judgment. So good morning, Grow with Naomi. How are you this morning? So yeah, one of the things that I do is I try to realize that I'm not perfect myself. Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that. That we make bad decisions, but yet the word tells us not to think so highly of ourselves, right? That we can't imagine that we make mistakes, because we do all the time. And yet we're quick to judge others, not thinking about things that we do. And a lot of times we judge others to deflect from having to look at the things that we do. So because we do things that we shouldn't do, we focus our attention on something else, something that someone else is doing. And then we don't have to focus on the things that we need to be working on ourselves, So we have to, good, by the grace of God, I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed and so thankful for, who I am, who he is, and where I am in my life. So I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking. So the other thing that I keep in mind, we're talking about judgment this morning, and I'll just be on here a few more minutes because I only try to do about 30 minutes. I'll go a little bit past, but not too much. I have to get ready for work myself. But I just want to leave you all with a couple tips I do to keep myself in a good headspace when it comes to judgment. Number one, I'm not perfect. I'm not worthy. I'm not deserving sometimes of the grace that God gives me each and every day. So if he can give me that grace in the midst of all of my issues, my sins, my struggles, my downfalls, then I should be able to give that same grace and mercy to others, that same forgiveness, right? We're quick to not forgive because we feel they're not worthy or deserving of our forgiveness. And then I have to realize that it's not my life. When I'm judging people, when I'm wanting to get upset about things that people are doing and saying and how they're acting, I have to remember They're living their life. They're making their decisions that are best for them. Good, bad, indifferent. It doesn't matter. It's their life to live. It's their choices to make. And I'm not the one that has to live it, you know? So even though I may not think it's the best decision, or I think they're making bad decisions, I can, possibly say something to them about it if I'm being led to do so. But I have to remember, I have to get out of their life and get back into my life and realize, hey, it's not my judgment to make. They're making decisions based on what they feel is best. So there's no reason for me to get upset about it, to place judgment on it. If they feel that's the best thing to do, then, I have to just accept that that's the choices and the decisions that they are making for themselves. I don't know what causes people to do the things or say the things that they say and do. And it's not my decision to make. So let's see, we need to help stop judgment and help the person, talk to them, encourage them. That will help. Judgment does not cause growth or change. You are absolutely right. And that's my next thing, is that we have to realize that we're not called to everyone. We're not called to speak sometimes into everyone's life. We have to, when we're ready to place judgment on a person, we have to ask God, Lord, do you want me to say something to this person? Is this someone that you're calling me to speak to? Is this a divine appointment, so to speak, where I'm called to go to them and pour into their lives and say, hey, I know you're in the midst of making this decision, or I know you're thinking about doing this. I just want to share this with you as you go through as you make this decision and trying to decide what you're going to do, and share with them what it is you want to say. We have to be willing to get people's permission to speak into their lives. One of the mistakes we make, that we run up to people and go, why are you doing that? What were you thinking? Well, why do you think that's a good decision to make? We run up into people's lives and we make quick judgment calls and, blurt out the things that we think about what it is that they're saying or doing, without taking into consideration that they may not be ready to receive, they may not want to hear what we have to say. And then we'll turn around and get mad when they don't receive it, say, well, I told you what you should have done. I told you, that was a bad idea. I told you should have did this, but because we did not go to them in a manner that was humble and say, hey, are you thinking about doing this? I see you struggling with that. Do you want me to give you my opinions, or do you want me to share with you some things that I've experienced, or give you some suggestions? Ask people and give them and allow them to give you permission to speak into their lives before we just go making judgment calls on them. So if we can get to a space where we can ask permission and say, hey, I want to share this with you. I want to give you this. I think, you could benefit from something that I need to tell you, and say, do you mind if I tell you this, or are you willing to listen? Are you ready? Are you really ready to make some change? And I can share some things with you that will be helpful, right? So get permission from people before we just go placing our judgment and everything on them. And then we have to remember, the most powerful language that we have is the power of prayer. When we can't be effective in people's lives, God can do things 10 times greater than we can. He can, change the situations, alter the scenes, alter the scenarios to help get people where he wants them to be, because ultimately we're all his children and no one can handle us more effectively than he can. So if we're struggling to feel the need to want to place judgment on a person, pray for them instead. Use that prayer language and say, Father, I see this person, going down the wrong path, saying the wrong things, doing the wrong things. And I'm coming to them as an intercessor to pray for them, to lift them up, move in their lives. Use me, if possible, wherever I can be used to make change, or someone else. Place the people in their lives, whatever it is that we need to do. But we have to be led by the Spirit before we just speak into people's lives, before we just make judgment calls on people. We have to be led by the Spirit. So I think that's, and worst case scenario also, if we can't do it, lead them to someone else who can. And I'm always in favor of using third parties, a counselor, a coach, a preacher, pastor, whoever, someone that they trust, to come into the picture and help them make good decisions. And so don't be afraid to lead them to those people if it's not necessarily us that they want to hear from. So, and that those are pretty much the things that that I try to keep in mind when I'm making judgment calls on people. I may not agree with it, I may not like it, but I have to remember that I'm not perfect. It's not my life. They're not my decisions to make. And I'm not called to everyone, but I do have the power of prayer. So I try to be careful, try to be mindful. Good morning, Donnery Love. How you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. So those are the things that I do when I'm trying to, be mindful of where I'm placing judgment on my life and on others. Because often the way we judge others is typically how we judge ourselves. And so, and everyone can't be, on the same level of judgment that we deserve, that we do for ourselves. We just have to worry about ourselves, worry about the decisions that we're making, how we're approaching people, how we're loving on people, and then let God love on those that are in our lives. So that's all I have this morning on judgment. I will be back tomorrow. I won't be live, but I will be putting out a video tomorrow. And then on Friday, we'll be back here for class with the letter K, and we'll be talking about kindness, how to be kind to people, and how we can incorporate more kindness into our conversations and into our communication and into our relationships. All right. So I'm going to say a quick prayer, and then I'm going to, head out, get ready for work, get ready for my day, and pray that everyone has a beautiful, awesome, wonderful day as well. Father, I come thanking you this morning for this day. I thank you for the love, the grace, and the mercy that you give us every day as we are so undeserving. Father, you caution us each and every day not to judge and not to be so judgmental of others. You tell us, Lord, for us not to think so highly of ourselves, because we are not without fault. So, Father, help us to be mindful, help us to use discernment, help us to be careful, to mind our tongues, to control our tongues when we're ready to place judgment on a person. We don't know what people are going through. We miss opportunities every day to pour into people and to allow people to pour into us because of bad judgment calls that we make. Father, you are the ultimate judge. You are the one that we need to be seeking in the things that we're doing, and the things and how we allow things to come out of our mouths and the relationships that we enter into. So, Father, help us to use our judgment wisely, to be wise with how we choose to speak to people, the timing that we use, the audience, help us pay attention to the audience, and help us for the first judgment call we make to show love and kindness. Father, we thank you. We love you. And I just pray for each and every person on this chat. Help us to make good decisions today, to be wise in our judgment today when we're talking to people, how we approach people, and so that we can be received and build good, trusting relationships with those that are in our lives. We love you. We thank you. These things I ask in your son Jesus' name. Amen. All right, everyone. Let's see. What is the difference between judgment and choice? The difference between judgment and choice. Judgment is, like I said, when we're forming an opinion or trying to make when we're forming an opinion, typically to make a decision about a matter. Now, choice is just basically when we're trying to decide what we're going to do. That doesn't necessarily involve, it may or may not involve our opinion. So I can choose to, get up out of bed at 5 a.m. and feel indifferent about it. But I can make a judgment call and say, getting up at 5 a.m. is crazy to do anything, right? So that's to me the difference between judgment and choice. So our judgments typically affect the things that we choose, and may even, be dependent upon the choices that we make. But we use judgment to decide a lot of times what is we are going to say, or what it is we're going to do. So to me, that's the difference between judgment and choice. Okay. Does that make sense? Or do you think something different? Do you have a different opinion about it? Nope. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to get ready to head out. I don't see a response on that last statement. So, okay. Well, I'm getting ready to head out. You all have a beautiful day. I'm going to get ready for my day. And you all take care. All right. And I will see y'all tomorrow. Tomorrow will just be the video and then the week's lesson. And then Friday, we'll be back here in the morning at 5 a.m. for our class lesson on kindness. Okay. And then Saturday night, we will be back for our Talk to Ruth live sessions. Okay, y'all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all soon. Take care. Love y'all. Bye-bye.